Aloha and welcome to the KupunaWiki radio show. This month we'll be talking about Kupuna's Giving Back. And in studio we have Pastor Dale Saito of C4 Christ-Centered Community Church. KupunaWiki's Hawaii senior resource. We talk to the best local professionals in the state regarding topics such as real estate, senior housing, estate planning, finance, and health, so our Kupuna families can find the best resources in the midst of a life transition. We strive to make sure our seniors are informed and supported every step of the way. Thanks for joining us again today. I'm Brandon Lau.
And I'm Andrew Leong.
Your host for the KupunaWiki radio show.
Our title sponsor for today is Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors, providing you with the best real estate information so you can make the most informed decisions. As they like to say, real estate is about choice. To contact them, call 753-9033.
And now we have our real estate tip of the week brought to you by Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors.
Selling a home? Are you trying to time the real estate market in hopes of higher returns? Don't wait to sell your home. Mortgage rates are still low when you consider other times in history. Any rise in mortgage rates weakens the pool of buyers and lessens buyer demands. Weaker buyer demands can slow a rise in home selling prices. Don't suffer from the shoulda, coulda, woulda, if only syndrome when looking back, having missed home selling price appreciation.
For more information about the real estate market or buying your home, please contact Cheney Brooks Choice Advisors at 753-9033. Well, again today in studio we have Pastor Dale Saito, Senior Pastor of C4 Christ-Centered Community Church at Kahala Mall. Welcome, Dale.
Good to be here.
Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
Now, Dale, you have quite a story yourself, and I know right now you are the Senior Pastor at C4 Christ Community Church, but you didn't start off in ministry. In fact, you had a full life even before this new career. So maybe you can share a little bit about your background.
My background. Well, I was born and raised in Palolo Valley, very, very close to the Kahala area. We used to look at the Kahala area and say, we wish we could live there, but oh well. Ended up graduating from Kaimiki High School, Yei Bulldogs, went to the University of Hawaii. And while at the university, there was really only one class that I was good at. And it wasn't anything related to ministry. It was accounting.
Really?
So,
that is parking lot.
So I became an accountant, CPA, and had a full career doing the CPA thing. And was fortunate enough to retire when I was fairly young, still young. And I made a decision to actually spend the next few years of my life, active life, giving back to the community.
Okay.
And my thought was to get a nice government job or something like that and have people take me golfing, but that didn't quite work out. And then I ended up serving at church and ended up serving more at church.
Right.
And one day, if you remember back in 2011, there was a huge earthquake and tsunami in Japan, and my wife and I felt our hearts saying, we should go and help. And it was during that period that I decided to become a pastor, just so I could do ministry work in Japan.
There's a selfish motive.
Yeah, I love Japan. I love the food in Japan. I love the people of Japan. So I figured, why not do this in Japan, right? So.
But before you took on the official role as a pastor, you were very, very involved. As you said, you were volunteering. And what caused you to want to give back in the first place?
It was something that I've always done, actually. As I look back at my career, even when I was an accountant, I was always volunteering for something, whether it be in the church that I attended back then or other community activities. For a while, I was very heavily involved in the Hawaii Children's Cancer Foundation. I was on the board for many years, treasurer, president, and so I love giving back to the community. I never envisioned doing it through ministry. I just love giving back to the community. That's just part of my DNA, I guess.
And it sounds like you did have a history with the church, though, and ministry. opportunities, and somehow you ended up in C4.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. We went to a lot of different churches after we got married. I grew up in the church, and then after we got married, we started going to a church, and somehow ended up at the big New Hope,
Right.
New Hope Oahu, and we were actually we live out in Hawaii Kai, and we were headed to Farrington one morning, and we were late. And if anyone knows anything about going to New Hope Farrington, you know that if you're late, you're not going to get parking.
Right.
So I was speeding, well, I shouldn't say I was speeding. I was driving very quickly down the highway, and my wife, Eileen, said, just as we passed Aina McDonald, she said, there's a brand new Hope Church right here. So we stopped in, and it's become our
Your home church.
our home church, and that was 15 years ago.
Wow, 15 years already.
2004, yeah.
So the church that you're now pastoring, that was started roughly early 2000s.
Yeah, mid 2004. And about a month after they started was when we discovered it.
Yeah. Or maybe it discovered you. So right now you are senior pastor, and tell us, what is that role like for you? I mean, obviously you had a full career before this, and so your outlook and perspective must be very different from somebody who's, I'll say, approaching a pastoral role as their first career. You know, you have a lot more experience to draw from. So share with us, how is it right now?
It's, I must admit, my career path is not the typical for pastors. In fact, we have many pastors at our church who are in their 30s, you know, fresh out of college and just getting into the ministry.
Right.
and all of that. And I love that about them. My path, however, was very different. I was actually 60 years old when I started working for the church. When most people are thinking
60 years
about,
young.
yeah, you know, people are starting to think about stopping work, and here I am starting a second career, if you will.
Right.
But you know, it's interesting because I spent so much time out in the marketplace, if you will, and I spent so much time in the pews, in the chairs. I really can relate, I feel, to, you know, the everyday struggles of people.
Right.
And because of that, my ministry tends to be a little bit more on the practical side. You know, because I do understand what everyone is going through. I know how hard it is sometimes to go to work, and you know, the people that you have to work with, you know, they're not always sweet and,
Right.
and you know, loving and agreeable, and you know, sometimes they can be difficult. And I understand the financial difficulties that we all face in life, the unexpected bills that come, and you know, the job that was your dream job became your nightmare job.
Right.
You know, sometimes overnight.
You're trying to survive in Hawaii.
Yeah, you know, with real estate being what it is and everything. So yeah, I do understand that, and I try to incorporate a lot of my experience
Right.
into my messages, and I'm training my pastors to also speak towards that.
Now, I must say, from my experience, because I go to the church, it's really neat to see that, you know, typically you have one pastor, the lead pastor, doing all the messages and running the show, but it seems that there's less ego involved on your side, and you're very willing to let a lot of the younger pastors, you know, take the podium to do the work of the ministry. So that is interesting as well.
Yeah, it's just to give everyone a little background. You know, I'm not the founding pastor of the church. I actually became the co-lead pastor of the church about 3 years ago. Our lead pastor, our founding pastor, Pastor Fernando, took a position with our denomination in California. So he asked me to co-lead, and then after a year I became the senior pastor of the church. And I distinctly remember at that time, given my age and everything, it's like, gee, Lord, what do you want me to do? I mean, you know, here I am trying to start this career as a senior pastor when I'm in my 60s. And I distinctly remember God telling me, no, just your role is to really prepare the way. Prepare the church for the next senior pastor, and prepare the next senior pastor for the church. So because of that, we do it a little differently at our church. We actually have 7 teaching pastors, and we rotate. So I'll get up and I'll preach, once every other month or so, and I'll generally take on the tougher topics, the ones that a senior pastor should take. But part of my charge, if you will, is to actually bring up the younger pastors and prepare them for the ministry, because they will be carrying the ball for the next 20, 30 years.
That's right, and the legacy has to go on.
The
seeds have to be planted and to new generations.
Very much so.
Right.
Yeah. So as a result of that, I've noticed that the church has a nice blend in terms of our congregation. We have a lot of children at our church, a lot of young people at our church, and then we have the ones that are closer to my age. They can relate to me, but at the same time we have people who are younger that are relating to the younger pastors. So we have quite an interesting blend at our church. Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because I think typically when you have a pastor or a church led by maybe a single pastor, the age group tends to kind of revolve closer to the age of that senior pastor.
Correct.
But when you have multiple parties involved, then you have the whole breadth of, from infants to seniors.
Yes.
Right.
Very much so.
And that's a healthy community.
Yes.
Right.
Well, it represents the community.
Right.
The people within the church actually represent the community outside the church.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Pastor Dale, I do want to talk a little bit more in our next segment about some of the things the church is doing for the community and the kupuna.
Sure.
So we'll talk about that right after this commercial break.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we have in studio Pastor Dale Saito, Senior Pastor of C4 Christ-Centered Community Church. And in the first segment, kind of just dive into your background, getting to know how you became a pastor, starting your second career, so to speak. But I wanted to kind of dive into the church right now and see, want to get to know how does it reach out to the community? What kind of community outreach do you folks have? And how are the seniors getting involved with this?
Yeah, interesting backstory on that. Actually, about 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. And she was living out in Hawaii Kai, and as you know, when you get diagnosed, there's a lot of doctor's appointments and procedures, etc. So I was shuttling my mom back and forth, between town and Hawaii Kai. And one thing that I started to notice driving down Cal Highway was that there's a church. I think it's Calvary by the Sea. Every so many days they have a food bank operation and a thrift store. And you see all these people lining up on the sidewalk. And so I asked my mom, I said, what are they doing? She says, oh, they have a food bank there. And that was the first time I actually started thinking, wow, our church needs to do something like that as well. We live, our church is in Kahala Mall, which actually is surrounded by several different types of communities. On one side, there's a rather affluent society, and on the other side, there's a more elderly community in Kamiki, and then you go up into Pololo, and there's more needs up there. And I looked at our location and had one of my pastors get in touch with the food bank and said, where's the nearest food bank outlet? And lo and behold, there was nothing close to us. The closest was down in Waikiki or in Moilele. So we asked the food bank, hey, is it possible for us to partner with you? And things worked out, and that was pretty much the birth of we call it the C4 pantry, but we have a full stock of food that we give out. The first Fridays of every month, we open the church doors in the morning. It's a Friday morning, and people come, and there's no requirement other than you living in the, our zip code. Then we'll give whatever we can to fill your needs. And because of the success of that, we went down to Kapahulu Community Center, and we asked them if it was possible for us to do another one there. So I believe it's the third Thursdays or something like that. We're down there doing the same thing, just blessing those communities, our communities, with trying to fulfill their needs for food. We're working on a third one yet. I'm not at liberty to discuss the location just yet, but when that is ready and available, we'll get the word out. But yeah, that's part of our heart, to give back to the community. We also have quite a few things going on inside of our church that's open to the general public that I wanted to just share today. We have hula classes every Friday morning, late morning, except for the first Friday. We have a very good instructor come in, and she'll run classes, and it's for beginners basically. It's not you won't be going to Hilo. Let's put it that way. after that class, but it's a good starter. And then we also have ukulele classes as well, and that one's pretty neat because the people that have been coming and doing the ukulele lessons, they're now going out back into the community to the senior homes, and they're performing there.
I think it's really neat when not only can Kupunas receive, but they can continue to give back.
Yeah, they turn right around and they tell us, we want to go to Tripler, we want to go to these senior homes, we want to play, and they have been very well received back in the community. So it's neat, Kupuna helping Kupuna.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, these people who come in to participate, how do they find out about these things? Is it generally from the church body, or maybe the church member invites a friend? How does it work? Yeah, it's for many of them it's word of mouth. Friends bringing friends. For some of them, they just call on the church office, and we have a wonderful receptionist, Megan, that can tell them anything and everything that we have going on at the church. And there's basically something going on every day and evening at the church. And some of them, like I said, are focused specifically for the Kupuna. One other kind of neat thing that we just started doing on Fridays is we have a flower vendor that's been very gracious to us, and they've been giving us the flowers that are a little bit too old to sell, but they're still pretty, they're still nice. So every Friday morning we get a pretty big shipment of unsold flowers, and we have some Kupuna come in and they do flower arranging and trimming the roses and doing all of those things. So on Sunday mornings we're giving out roses to all the ladies at the church, and it's really, really, really neat. Right. People helping people. Yeah. I guess if you're retired and you have a lot of time in your hands, you want to be useful. You don't want to just have fun and enjoy the leisurely life.
Yeah.
And you want to have purpose.
Very much so.
So I guess through these different programs and getting involved, they can interact with people. They can have purpose. Continually serve. Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit more about what you said. Our society today, and this doesn't apply just to seniors, it applies to everyone, is becoming very lonely. There's more and more studies coming out saying that America has never been so lonely. I would say, I wouldn't say the Kupuna are the loneliest. Actually, it's the millennials, the 20-somethings that are showing up on these studies as being the loneliest generation. However,
but they have the most friends on Facebook, though.
Yes, but this is a way for people to just interact. To just kind of hang out. Just like we used to do when we were young, when we didn't have phones and gadgets and Netflix and all these other things that are distracting us, all we had was each other.
Right.
And wasn't that a beautiful time?
So I'm curious, Pastor Dale, I know you're pastoring as a senior pastor, but your wife is also very involved.
Very much so.
What does she think of all of this, and how does she participate?
Well, let me start by saying I do not know of any successful pastor that doesn't have a very supportive spouse, and that goes both ways. Whether it's the pastor is male or female, it really takes two to do this job, because it can be challenging at times. No one comes to us and says, "I just had a great day." It's usually the opposite. It's usually when they haven't had a great day that they seek the help of a pastor. So the demands can be hard. It can be challenging, and it does take a very supportive, understanding, strong wife. Especially for me to get through this, since I'll be honest, I really don't know what I'm doing. Every morning I get up and I say, "God, thank you for this, and you got to help, because I have no idea what I'm doing."
Well, as long as He's giving you direction, that's all that matters.
but my wife has been extremely supportive in the ministry. I mean, she's the one that keeps me on the straight and narrow. She'll give me honest feedback about sometimes how I preach, how we're doing as a church, things that can be improved or worked on, things that I need to focus on at work. So she keeps me balanced. You're spending too much time at you need to take a break. It's time to take a break. So she's very good in that respect. Just helping me keep the guardrails up. Because it's so easy to get into something like this that you're passionate about and not stop.
It really is a team effort.
It really is.
Right. To keep on that path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and she helps in a lot of areas in the ministry as well, but mostly behind the scenes. Whether it be counseling or mentoring or taking care of some of the things that are not in the forefront.
Well, here's the $1 million question, Pastor Dale.
Yes.
How do you define retirement, and will you ever retire?
I had one of our church members several years ago break my heart because I was talking about retirement, and she said, "There's no one in the Bible that ever retired." You know that, right?
They moved on.
They went to be with their fathers or something like that, right? So I've kind of given up on, retiring per se. I know my season will change at some point in time. The younger pastors will be assuming the role, if you will, of taking care of this church, and I can become the elder, which I'm anxiously awaiting, becoming the elder. I don't think I'll ever stop. In fact, I asked Eileen the other night, she's, "Do you think I'll ever stop working?" She said, "No." So don't even think about it. So okay, well that's kind of me. I'll just keep on doing what I'm doing, but I don't have to be doing precisely what I'm doing, I think, to continue serving God.
But, like you said, it's your passion.
It is.
Right?
It
and
very
when it's
much
your passion, there's no reason you want to stop.
Yeah, this is fun. I tell people this, and they have a hard time believing it, but this has been the best job I've ever had.
Well, I've heard you say it before, and you do have great staff.
Yes,
it's a great church.
Yes,
but I think I just see you enjoying it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You're just happy being in this role.
Well, Jesus is on this throne.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get to clean his feet, but
there you go.
but yeah, I'm happy doing whatever I need to do actually to just further his kingdom. So yeah, this is great.
Well, Pastor Dale, if there's any way that somebody wants to connect, engage with the church, and maybe get involved in these programs, how can they do that?
Well, The best way, the easiest way is you can check out our website, to get more information, or you could just call the office. Call Megan at 735-4370, and she can direct you to whomever would be the best resource to answer your questions.
And do you have a website?
Yes, it's www.c4.church.
Well, Pastor Dale, thank you so much for being on our show
Thank you for having me.
and for continuing to serve the community and the Kupuna.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Coming up next, we have our KupunaWiki Classic Trivia. And now we have our KupunaWiki Classic Trivia.
Opened in 1902, this 6-story, 200-room hotel was the largest building in Hawaii, located in what is now downtown Honolulu. In 1964, this hotel converted to retail and office space as it fell out of favor with travelers. What was the name of this hotel?
For a chance to win a Long's gift card, be the first person to call us with the correct answer at 808-792-5188.